We have known for a long time that Earth is now beginning her ascension back into higher dimensions. A lot of New Age people talk about a kind of personal ascension. But since time immemorial, the great wisdom teachers, the great initiates, have taught us, such as Rudolf Steiner, Madame Blavatsky, Max Heindel, and many others, that the earth itself has made a descent into the material and is now beginning her ascension back into the higher dimensions. However, as she is doing this, she is releasing negativity. Unfortunately, because of the actions of an elite power structure that holds the belief that they have the right to control the earth and all other residents, this cycle is happening at a slower pace. These organizations are having a harder time of controlling the group consciousness. I'm talking about the masters of evil. They are really having a harder time of controlling humankind. And it is because of us, the work that we're doing. There are thousands of light workers on this planet that are beginning to experience the energies of the higher dimensions. Because of these people, they have taken the time to increase their vibration. They have guaranteed that the planet and all of her residents will ascend. Now, some people will ascend quicker than others. I'm not saying that we will all be moving up at once. In fact, for some people, for some souls, it will take them millions upon millions of years before they actually catch up to the rest of humanity, especially the leaders, the great initiates. However, we, the light workers, are increasing the vibration of the earth. Evidence of this occurrence is everywhere. There is a lot of unrest in the world. Everywhere, people are beginning to question their reality. And this is a good thing, because as a result, they are starting to demand their basic rights. People are beginning to realize this in the mainstream, not just in spiritual groups. And of course, every couple of days, there seems now to be a major UFO sighting. Is it really a coincidence that all of this is happening now? When discerning an article or book, try to get a sense of the overall message. Is the author trying to make you afraid? Remember that our emotions are just energy. When you are afraid, you are in a state of disempowerment. Just by thinking about creating a new world full of peace and happiness, you are adding to the vibration of the group consciousness, and as a result, quickening the manifestation of it. We have the power to create whatever we want. Do not let these people keep you in fear. The energy is now present on earth for us to completely transform our lives in a small amount of time. Use it. Some great whistleblowing has been going on that I want to report to you. Tesla-based teleportation technologies that have been operational since the early 70s in DARPA and CIA projects are now being revealed to the public. At least 3 independent whistleblowers from top secret U.S. government programs, including former U.S. serviceman Michael Relfi, former DARPA Project Pegasus participant Andrew D. Basiago, Esquire, and former U.S. DoD scientist Arthur Neumann have now come forward to confirm that the U.S. government has had operational teleportation for 40 years. Quote, "The next world war will be between the banks and the people of the world, unquote, stated Paul Hellyer. In an exclusive Exopolitics TV interview with Alfred Lambremont Weber, Paul Hellyer, former Canadian Minister of Defense and Deputy Prime Minister under Pierre Trudeau, stated that abolition or nationalization of the U.S. Federal Reserve Bank and disclosure and public application of new energy technologies now held in sequestered projects in the black budget national security state are a key to survival of the United States as a prosperous society, and to humanity's survival and to its charting a positive future. And I think that is putting it nicely. The Chad sighting. Okay, let's get into this. It was initially submitted to Coast AM either late April or May 6, 2007. Now later, George Norrie and Lex Lonehood, C2C webmaster, passed the contact information along to Linda Moulton Howe for follow-up. Linda Moulton Howe continued to email Chad regarding the case. Chad conveyed to Linda Moulton Howe that he lived near Bakersfield, California. It was implied in the Linda Moulton Howe report that the photos were also taken in the same location. Later, the image sighting location turned out to be about 200 miles from Bakersfield. Now, the following was originally posted on Coast to Coast AM on a link that interesting no longer works. So here it goes. Quote, last month, April 2007, my wife and I were on a walk when we noticed a very large, very strange craft in the sky. My wife took a picture with her cell phone camera. A few days later, a friend and neighbor lent me his camera and came with me to take photos of this craft. We found it and took a number of very clear photos. Picture number 4 is taken from right below this thing, and I must give my friend credit as I was not brave enough to get close enough to take this picture myself. The craft is almost completely silent and moves very smoothly. It usually moves slowly until it decides to take off. Then it moves very quickly and is out of sight in the blink of an eye. More than anything, and this was written in caps, I simply want to understand what this is and why it is here, question mark. We found your show with Google and I have listened for a few nights now. I have decided that if anyone can help me understand what this thing is, it is you and your audience. I must admit I am deeply unsettled by this thing. I have never seen anything like this in my life. Location, I would prefer not to say for now. Signed, Chad. Chad submitted 6 images. Then later the following email was posted at C2C. Quote, thank you so much for posting my photos! Exclamation point. I hope someone can help identify this. First of all, I see this thing very often. Since it first appeared, I have probably seen this thing maybe 8 different times since the first appearance. My friend and I went out the next day after I first saw it to get the photos, but it was not there. Then we tried again the next day and we found it within like 30 minutes and followed it for a while. Most of the time I see it out of windows in my house in the distance, but I would say almost half of the hikes I have gone on in my area, I have seen it very close. It is very easy to photograph, and many neighbors aside from my friend have also seen it. It is almost totally silent, but not quite. It makes kind of crackling noises. It's hard to describe them, but they are only intermittent and not very loud, but you can notice them. Sometimes there is a very slight hum that sounds kind of mechanical, almost like when you are near very large power lines. But it is nothing like a loud jet engine. It is very quiet for the most part. It moves almost like an insect. If you have ever seen a bug on a pond, it is kind of like that. It is very smooth and slow most of the time. And then every now and then it will rotate very quickly and go very fast in another direction, then stop and repeat the process all over again. There is just something very unnatural about the way it moves. Also, I've had maybe 4 headaches in the last week, and I am normally not the kind of person who really ever gets them. Also, my wife has been tired and fatigued lately. She's about a month pregnant, and the doctor said fatigue is normal around this time, but I worry that it is a lot. Basically, what I'm worried is that this quote-unquote craft has got some kind of radiation or something. Like I said, it sounds like power lines if you get close enough to it. Obviously, I am worried for our health, especially with a baby on the way. I would like to know if they are related, but again, this is why I really hope someone can answer these questions. Exclamation point, signed Chad. Please go to Linda Moulton Howe's website. If you at all believe the people who are saying that this is all just CGI. Remember how I told you that there are people, actually, it was discovered that one agent can take the personality on the internet of 10 seemingly ordinary citizens, and how I told you to beware of people who automatically appear to be nuclear physicists, great scientists who know so much information that they can declare this or that a fake, or have some great knowledge that someone is a CIA agent or an FBI agent. You have to beware of these people, because think about it, for the most part, all of us who participate in these forums, we all are people of goodwill and are not intent on destroying anyone. However, it seems like there are many in our community who are. Well, I'm here to tell you that these people are not in our community. These people are working for the government to cause confusion and to disrupt our community. I keep telling you, there are hundreds, thousands of government and other agents pretending to be average Joes participating on these various internet and UFO forums. Their job is to confuse the issue, confuse you, mock people, mock you in some cases, cast doubt, cast aspersions, and cast confusion. Think twice when you read something that makes you think, oh, I guess it was all just a hoax, or oh, okay, it was CGI. An especially good way of identifying that something was placed by an agent is if it breaks your heart. They come from an evil place. Therefore, they cannot help but cause pain inside the deepest part of you. When your heart is broken, it means that your intuition has picked up on something. These people love to burst your balloon, so to speak. In other words, and please listen to me closely, they want to destroy your hope. They want to take hope away from humanity. Anyway, go to Linda Moulton Howe's website. Okay, her last name is spelled Howe, and do a search for Chad. If at the very least, give her a chance to plead her case, and you will see that she had all these photos all checked out by experts in CGI computer graphics and computer graphic manipulation. From everything that I have read, they are real photographs. Now, we know that the government is clearly developing all sorts of drones. The smaller the better, usually speaking for their purposes. Some people claim to have evidence that we have drones no bigger than an insect that can fly up to a target and inject him or her with a syringe filled with a deadly neurotoxin. A lot of question, though, with the Chad drone issue is whether or not UFOs are supposed to look a certain way. Remember my encounter with those two huge orbs that moved in intelligent and purposeful ways. There was also time, memory, and spatial qualities associated with the orbs I encountered. No, they were not these little things that appear in digital photographs. I am talking about immense, as big as a house. However, they were not shiny, metallic saucers. They were bright, but fuzzy, with no clear outline. Nothing that I could say was the hull of a ship. Their reality was clearly impressive. I am still scared. I too suppressed my fear. Nothing in nature or that I have ever seen in the skies looks or operates that way. Growing up on Long Island and living there for several decades, a person learns to see just about everything that flies. Just think, or if you don't know, look it up, how many airports, both civilian and military, as well as military contractors, that I had surrounding me at first where I grew up on Hicksville, Long Island. We are sophisticated on Long Island regarding what is in the skies. Black helicopters are a regular, everyday occurrence on Long Island. We have Montauk, Grumman, JFK, and more labs than you can imagine on that island. Advanced genetic experimentation is going on. Out on the East End, below Montauk Point, underground, are huge electrical generators buried deep beneath the earth. What are they powering? Grumman Aerospace itself has at least 2 major sites on Long Island. We also have Gabreski Airport out in Suffolk County. Long Island is comprised in the western part, it's actually, the western part is part of New York City. Most people don't know this. This is where Brooklyn and Queens is located. Then in the middle where I grew up, Nassau County. And then the big part in the east is Suffolk County. So Suffolk County has Gabreski Airport, which boasts, now listen carefully to this, one of the longest runways in the world. Now what could they land there? Brookhaven Laboratories has its own airport. Are you familiar with Brookhaven Labs? If you listen to my last podcast, you are familiar with Brookhaven Labs. In addition, we have our share of very fascinating islands. I can't begin to tell you how many islands are attached, connected to Long Island, like Plum Island and Shelter Island. Jones Beach is part of a very, very thin and long island system that runs at the bottom of Long Island and is right on the Atlantic Ocean. You might be saying, Laurence, but what about disinformation? Yes, of course, disinformation exists. And of course, they try to confuse us. However, remember how the great Master and Prophet Jesus, upon him be peace, told us to be like little children. So many people have problems with that, trying to figure out what did he mean by that. We need to have an open, innocent awareness. This is so that we can see clearly, that we can perceive clearly, so that we clear and open our senses. Even if you get a few things wrong along the way, as you are undergoing training, ultimately you will reach a place where you will sense truth. Truth with a lowercase t, with a capital T, and in all caps. And making mistakes is part of being human. Do not worry about getting a few things wrong. Listen, you are not being tested on this. That's not the point, okay? Now, again, there are some government agents on the web who are trying to make things into a competition as to who knows the most facts. Is it really about the amount of information in your brain? Is that really what this is all about? Or is this about awareness expansion, consciousness expansion? What do you think the master teachers of the visitors are doing with us? They are expanding us, actuating us, turning on our DNA, activating our DNA. Do not worry about being embarrassed on your favorite internet chat or discussion site. In 100 years, who is going to remember your name? Do you know the name of your great-great-grandfather? Do you know what he did for a living? What do you know about his life? And I recommend, actually, that you do go and find out. But do not make unimportant things important in the sense of what people say and think about you on the internet. It means nothing. Of course, use your minds, use your reason and logic. However, reason and logic will never be able to touch the face of God. Humans cannot stop themselves from killing each other. Humans are all suffering from deep-seated post-traumatic stress disorder. If we cannot stop from killing each other, if we cannot even stop from destroying people on internet forums, then how do you ever hope to understand extraterrestrial subtle consciousness? Tell me, those of you who are writing bad things about other people on the internet, how do you think you will communicate with an extraterrestrial? And even more importantly, why would an extraterrestrial wisdom teacher ever want to communicate with you? Make yourself fit and open to receive the teachings of the Star Masters. No, this is not silly New Age talk. Just as there are very evil beings from the stars who are seeking to abuse us in a huge number of different ways, so too are there very loving and subtle beings, beings of wisdom, experience, knowledge, and love, who will teach you if you want. However, you must undergo what I call the awakening. It is happening now. If you have been doing the mantras I have been giving to you, you are feeling the awakening. The mantras and the various exercises I am giving to you, the photographs I am showing you, the music I am channeling for you, are all preparing you for communication and awareness of a whole level of reality unknown to the common person. Do not think that you can cheat me or them. It will catch up with you. What goes around comes around, and karma is a bitch.